Hello, I'm Steve Shaw, National Coordinator of Football Officials and Secretary Rules Editor for the NCAA, and today we're presenting the new rule changes for the 2026 season. Now, there's significant changes for this year, and it's important that we all have a strong working knowledge of these changes, and we're going to share some accompanying video to enhance the understanding of all these new rules. Now, this video is designed to inform and educate, but it will never replace the importance of intense rulebook study as you prepare for the season. So with that, let's get on into our video.
Our first rule change is to the targeting rule, our most important player safety rule. And the targeting rule continues to drive a positive change in player behavior in terms of use of the helmet, and targeting fouls continue to trend down. Now, with this change, if a targeting foul is upheld in replay, the player is still disqualified from the game, but the carryover disqualification for second half targeting fouls is now eliminated. And as noted in the first bullet, this is an experimental rule for 2026. Our commissioners support this rule, but want to evaluate this change at the end of the season. Now, even though the carryover disqualification is eliminated, the rule has been bolstered for players committing multiple targeting fouls in a season. And if a player receives a second targeting foul within that same season, they're disqualified from that game and the first half of their team's next scheduled game. And if they receive a third or subsequent targeting foul, then they're disqualified from that game and they'll receive a one-game automatic suspension in their team's next scheduled game. Now, the National Coordinator Review is still available, but 2 points of note. We only had 6 FBS players in 2025 with multiple targeting fouls, and there's no longer a carryover from one season to the next on targeting with this change. Now, as illustration of this targeting change from the Celebration Bowl in 2025, it's late in the fourth quarter. We get a pass complete over the middle, and we're going to get a flag from our umpire for targeting. Now, there's no change in the rule on the elements of targeting. Here we have a defenseless receiver, an indicator of targeting as the defender attacks, lowers the head, leads with the head, and there's forcible contact to the head of the defenseless player. So this is targeting. But now, even though this is in the fourth quarter, there'd be no carryover disqualification to the next game. And since this was the last game of the season, there's no carryover to the 2026 season. Our second significant change for 2026 is with numbering exceptions on a scrimmage kick formation. Now, the intent of this change is to allow the defense to readily identify eligible and ineligible receivers when the offense is lined up in a scrimmage kick formation. Now, the main components of a scrimmage kick formation remain unchanged. You have to have a kicker at least 10 or more yards behind the neutral zone, or a potential holder and potential kicker 7 or more yards behind the neutral zone. Nobody can be in the frame of the body of the snapper or in the direct path from the snapper to the kicker. But what has changed, to qualify as a scrimmage kick formation, the offense must either have 5 linemen wearing jerseys number 50 to 79 or meet the numbering exceptions requirements under Rule 714, which we'll cover momentarily. And still, to qualify as a scrimmage kick formation, it must be obvious that a kick will be attempted. Now, if the offense is lined up in a scrimmage kick formation, they may have fewer than 5 players numbered 50 to 79 on the line, subject to the following conditions. They must have a snapper and 2 linemen on each side of the snapper who are lined up in or touching the tackle box, what we call a 2x2 formation. And these 5 linemen become exceptions to the numbering rule. Now, as a reminder, the tackle box extends 5 yards either side of the center, and a player just has to get their foot inside that tackle box to be considered in the tackle box. These linemen, these 5 players, are ineligible receivers by position, and they become exceptions to the numbering rule when they line up following the snapper taking his position. And once a player is established as a numbering exception, they may not shift or move to another position. And any and all such numbering exception players must be clearly on the line of scrimmage. So let's go look at a few video clips to illustrate this new rule. This first play, we see the kicking team lined up in a 2x2 formation with these players clearly in the tackle box. So this is a legal formation even without 5 linemen 50 to 79 in the game. In this next formation, we see from the end zone view that the offense is not in a 2-by-2 formation. They're in a 3-by-1 setup, and they don't have 5 linemen number 50 to 79 in the game. And so this is not a legal formation. Even if the 3rd lineman to the right is in the tackle box, it must be a 2-by-2 formation to be legal. In our next formation from the end zone view, we see that the offense is using numbering exceptions, and they're lined up in a 2-by-2 formation, all legal. But then they're going to shift out, which is not allowed. Once the 2-by-2 formation is established, the offense cannot shift the players that are part of the 2-by-2 formation, even if after the shift they wind up in a 2-by-2 formation. This would not be legal. And finally, for teams that prefer to change player jersey numbers as opposed to using the numbering exceptions on punts, the NCAA is creating a form to help expedite the referee's announcements of jersey changes when a team plans to punt, and will change jersey numbers to conform to the 5 linemen numbered 50 to 79. For more information on numbering exceptions overall, please refer to the video that was created for coaches and officials on numbering exceptions in the scrimmage kick formation. Now, new for 2026 is the penalty for offensive pass interference is being adjusted to 10 yards, not 15 yards as it was in the past. The rules reserve 15-yard penalties primarily for personal fouls and unsportsmanlike conduct. And we know that even though there's no change here, defensive pass interference is a spot foul with a maximum of a 15-yard penalty. We know by rule that the play clock is set to 25 seconds following an instant replay review. New for 2026, after the 2-minute timeout, when the replay official stops the game for review, the play clock will be frozen at that point. And if the ruling on the field is upheld, it will be restarted following the review when the ball is made ready for play by the referee. And if the play clock displays less than 10 seconds when it's frozen, we'll bump it back up to 10 seconds and start it when the ball is made ready for play. The reasoning behind this change is to eliminate situations where the offense could actually take more than 40 seconds off the game clock because of an instant replay review after the 2-minute timeout. The unsportsmanlike conduct rule is being modernized as we head into 2026. Overall, the Rules Committee is satisfied with the solid judgment that officials are demonstrating evaluating unsportsmanlike conduct, especially around celebratory actions, not being overly technical, but knowing when it crosses the line. The key words in the rule now is that we will penalize actions that interfere with orderly game administration, taunting actions that are directed at an opponent, and there's no latitude, all taunting actions will be penalized, and abusive, threatening, or celebratory actions that are demeaning to the game or demeaning to an opponent. And we're going to minimize the list of automatic unsportsmanlike conduct fouls, a total of 5, but they will be consistently penalized. The list of automatic unsportsmanlike conduct fouls are any form of gun violence, including brandishing a weapon, a slashing of the throat, and now the nose wipe signal, which has the same connotation as the slashing of the throat, a player removing their helmet on the field after the ball is dead ball contact fouls such as pushing, shoving, striking, things that are clearly not football actions and are not part of the game, and after the ball is dead, forcibly pulling or pushing an opponent off the pile always creates a negative reaction. Those are our 5 automatics, and we expect officials to always penalize these actions. Currently under NCAA rules, a head coach has 1 instant replay challenge per game, and if that replay challenge is successful, they get a second. But now, with a new change for 2026, the head coach has 2 replay challenges per game. And if the coach wins at least one of their first 2 challenges, they're awarded a 3rd challenge. They still have to have a timeout remaining to challenge the ruling on the field, but this will give the coach a little more flexibility in challenging rulings. Our last significant change for this year is the addition of the fair catch kick to the NCAA playing rules. So to trigger the fair catch kick, a fair catch of an opponent's kick must be completed. Now, we know that following a fair catch, typically the ball is put in play by a snap, but optionally, the ball may be put in play by a fair catch kick if the receiving team, if their head coach selects a fair catch kick after the ball is dead and before the next ready for play. And if they choose a fair catch kick, that decision is irrevocable. And correspondingly, following the ready for play signal, then there's no option to go back and select a fair catch kick. But if the fair catch kick is selected by the receiving team, then the ball is put in play at the spot of the catch or the succeeding spot after penalties. Obviously, if that catch is in a side zone, it's brought back into the hash. The play clock will be set to 25 seconds, and the game clock will start when the ball is legally kicked. And if the fair catch occurs as time expires in a half, the team will be allowed to make the fair catch kick as an untimed down. So if a team elects a fair catch kick, the fair catch kick line is the spot of the fair catch. And then the defense, the receiving team, their fair catch kick line is 10 yards in advance of the kicking team's fair catch kick line. So it looks just like a kickoff, and all the formation requirements for a fair catch kick will follow our kickoff rules. Now, the kick must be a field goal place kick with a holder, and there can be no tee, or it can be a drop kick. And if the kick passes over the crossbar and between the uprights, it scores 3 points. Now, if the fair catch kick is unsuccessful and it stays in the field of play, the receiving team can choose to run it back, or if they don't touch it, they can actually take the ball at the spot of the fair catch kick. So what does the fair catch kick look like on the field? Here's a diagram, and following a fair catch at the plus 45, the coach elects a fair catch kick, and the restraining line for the kickers would now be the plus 45, and the receiving team restraining line would be the 35. It looks formationally like a kickoff, and the defense can put a player back potentially to return the kick. So here is video from the last successful fair catch kick in the NFL. The teams are lined up like a kickoff, and obviously the defending team, they can't rush. They have to stay behind their restraining line. There's a holder in place, and the kicker is going to try a field goal place kick. He kicks it. It goes over the crossbar and through the uprights, and it scores 3 points. An exciting way to end a half. Well, that's it for our 2026 rule change video. A lot to unpack here, and best of luck to all as we prepare for our season.